Welcome to another review episode of Just One More Fix. This is James. With me in this episode is Curtin Lacey.
Hello.
You can find us online at justonemorefix.com or on Twitter at justonemorefix. If you like us, head over to iTunes or to Google Play and give us a rating and a comment. This is review number 2, and we are going to review The Quiet Year. And now it's time to get a review fix. Welcome to another episode of, or another review episode of Just One More Fix. Today we are going to review The Quiet Year. It's produced by Burned Without Ceremony. For those of you that don't know, it's an indie game that is about world building. Physically, I guess it consists of a deck of cards, a small playbook, some other play aids, D6s, and then some little red skulls that are really cool looking.
And the burlap sack.
Now, the game does come in several different versions of it because you can play it with a regular deck of cards. You can buy it where it's the PDF and the book tells you that the King of Hearts represents whatever card, and then you read that off of the out of the PDF.
But it's much cooler if you actually buy the set.
I agree. The full game with all the accoutrement is very cool looking.
And it's small. It's like about the size of a quarter sheet of paper. Like inside the
it's
like, with the bags, I would agree it's about the size of a quarter sheet of paper, but it gets filled up pretty full with the small booklet, the deck of cards, and then the other counters and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you don't have to. There's one thing that I hate is having to check tables or having to
back
check
and forth.
Yeah.
Right. So there are, if you look online, there are several different ways to purchase this game. I believe it's available through buriedwithoutceremony.com. We'll link that in the show notes in case you guys are interested. As far as production value goes, though, it is a very high production. The quality of the cards are very nice. They're glossy, like a regular bicycle playing card. They're a pretty high production value.
The book is kind of low production in and of itself because it's basically basic cardboard and plain paper, but it fits within the
thematic of the game.
Theme of the game.
And it's extraordinarily resilient. I can tell you from experience that I'm not suggesting that this is kind of an off-label sort of thing. Do not put it through the washer intentionally, but if you do, it held through a wash and a dry cycle,
right on,
and looks extra post-apocalyptic.
The artwork, there's not really, I guess there is a little bit of artwork. It's all black and white printing. The little booklet is about, let's see, it's not numbered, but I don't know. What do you think? 30 pages, 20 pages?
No, it's actually a really quick setup. The biggest problem you'll have is getting over how it's actually played because it's not like a normal card game.
It is a different style of game, and it's got several skull counters that come with it. There are spike counters, and they're really cool looking, some D6s. The cards are broken up into 4 suits that go along with the seasons, and we'll kind of explain how that works. So that if you have a regular deck of cards, it does.
Can you maybe just do like maybe a synopsis or an overview of this?
You basically play a community, and no one plays an individual character. You play a community through a year of its cycle. You start the game with a blank sheet of paper, and you decide a couple things, a couple scarcities, and a couple surpluses.
Okay, well, I think maybe you should jump back just really quick to background. So the community you're playing is given some specific information. So it's just come out of a war with a group called the Jackals. So your community has been basically leveled is the idea. And you have until winter when these
Frost Shepherds.
Yes, the Frost Shepherds are going to come, and the idea is, you basically kill your community. So you have to you have this brief moment in time where it's a quiet year.
Yeah, you have almost a full year.
It'd be a great title.
Before the storm that you have to reestablish your community. So that's where you start off, and then you have your map that you draw out general shape of the land.
And it's worth mentioning that they're not specific as to what the Jackals nor to what the Frost Shepherds are. They kind of leave that open.
Well, that's something that's very nice. I've seen a couple of forums where people are talking about world building, and you could very easily transpose that name with, if you want to do it for Firefly, you could, and build your outpost world or whatever. It could very easily be Reavers or whatever you wanted it to be. It could fit within any theme. But the game starts in spring and takes place, and at some point in the winter, you shuffle the Frost Shepherds Arrive card into the bottom part of the winter cycle. somewhere. So you don't know exactly when it's going to end, but you do know that that card is in the winter cycle somewhere, and that's when the game will end.
So there's one deck of cards with as many cards as you would typically have in a deck, and each suit, instead of having diamonds, hearts, spades, and clubs, you have spring, summer, autumn, and winter.
Right.
You don't shuffle them together, so you play, but you shuffle each deck. So then you play through spring, and then summer, and then autumn, and then winter, and then somewhere in the winter deck is going to be the Frost Shepherds come, and the game is over.
Right. So as far as systems or mechanics go, it's very simple and basic. There's on each card, as the play goes around, every player takes a turn and they draw a card. And they read off the card, and there is usually an either-or kind of text on it. And in the spring section, it's generally about gathering resources, and it's generally a pretty positive, good thing. And then as the seasons go along, it begins to get progressively, I don't know if you want to say worse is the right term, or more difficult trying your community. So with the cards, you take a turn and you draw something on the map. So I've just got one here, and it says, where does everyone sleep? Who is unhappy with this arrangement and why? Or what natural predators roam the area, and are you safe? And this is kind of how most of the cards progress, and it's just basically things for you to think about. And everyone gets gets to talk about what you want that to be, and then you draw it on the map, and there's discussion around the table. It moves along really fast, really.
What's unique about it, I think, is like a directed pass the stick, because we decide as a group what that natural predator is. There's no rolling for if that natural predator is actually there, if I'm not mistaken. This is we agree now that wild velociraptors are outside or whatever it is that we're dealing with, zombies or reavers, and then that's what's out there for storytelling purposes. Yeah.
And it does talk about it being a collaborative game, to where if I say it's going to be wild velociraptors, and someone at the table is like, I'm not playing Turok Dinosaur Hunter right now, then, there's collaboration.
Well, they'd be wrong.
And that is actually, too, you can start, part of your turn can be having a discussion about whether or not there are really going to be wild velociraptors. Right. And if I feel adamantly about the fact that there's not going to be and I'm outvoted, that's where your contempt tokens come into play.
Right. So, and
then I can build those up for future use for diabolical schemes.
Like let's talk about those skull tokens or the contempt tokens, and if a decision is made that you don't agree with, then you take a spite or contempt token, I believe they're called, and we'll talk about them a little bit more here in a few minutes. But that's essentially how gameplay goes. Each season is kind of themed a little bit differently. Like I said, with spring being accumulating stuff, and then obviously winter is about hardships and that kind of thing. It moves pretty quickly. It plays in about
3 to 4 hours.
I think it takes that long. Is that what it says?
Sorry, 2 to 4 hours. Yeah. They do have a quicker version that you can play.
You start off with less cards.
The lingo for it, but there's a...
You are not talking into the microphone like you did the other day.
There's a fleeting year version that you can play that is a quick play version that is shorter, and you remove a few cards from each deck.
Now, when I did this, I actually used this game for the first time with a bunch of high school students last year, I believe it was. We took considerably less time the first time through. There was actually a lot less discussion than I thought on the first go around, just because they were all like, okay, what is this about? Because they're used to card game. It's going to be Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Right. It's going to be something like that. And once they got into it, gameplay slowed down. But it's one of those things where you almost might want to do a run through first with that abbreviated year, just to give everybody the idea of how it
does seem like it takes at least one round of playing it through, and then once you get to that second or third time, before you start to bring in that real politic element that's incorporated into the game.
Yeah, because as you go along, you develop the leadership of the city a little bit. Someone in the city city is probably the wrong word, in the community, and you develop someone who's causing problems in the community and splitting the community and that kind of stuff. So it does have an element that sort of builds drama and politics and conflict into the world that you build for it, which is nice. So like it does it really well. It's kind of designed to be kind of some kind of a post-apocalypse setting, but I think you could easily adapt it to do about anything you wanted to. So let's talk about what this game does well.
It with the spite tokens and the fact that it's both collaborative and adversarial at the same time, I think it does a very good job of making people look at each other. Rather than look at the game master or look at the board or whatever it is. This is I hate to say it, this is like a council meeting. This is like I don't know what else to call it.
There are a couple
committee.
cards that talk about there is a council meeting. You have 5 minutes to play this council meeting out, decide what happens, you know what I mean, kind of a thing. So it is very much exactly that.
There's a lot of games that do like skirmish and action well. This game is for those people that are your thinkers and strategizers. I think will enjoy this game a little bit more.
Well, and first-person RP stuff, because in a lot of games, there's a lot of third-person or a meta outside. I think this is apparently, I think if you're playing this right, and this might just be my impression, but if you're playing this right, you play probably 2/3 of this, or 3/4, whatever you want to call it, this game in first person.
Right.
It's almost LARPy. I mean, except you're not standing up and moving around.
Right.
And I think we've already set it up as a world building game, which it is, but it does a good job of allowing or building a base that you can build another game on. So it is a complete self-contained game, and you don't have to use it for that. But if you're looking to set up a world for an RPG that you're going to be doing, there's map creation. Everybody is involved in it. It gives you a broad base of NPCs as you play out at the game, because you create people that are in the city, your resources, and all of that. And the people that you're playing this game with presumably will be the people that you would be RPGing with. So now they are all also invested in the world because they've helped create that world.
And it answers
so that's something that it does quite well.
Answers a big problem for me as a GM. What do you want to play? Oh, whatever.
Right.
No, tell me.
So
this, I think, would be wonderful as a don't tell me, show me what you want to play.
So I very much agree with everything you guys said. One thing I will say that I don't think you mentioned is that, and you just kind of touched on, Kurt, is that it draws people in. So when you use this as a game to set up a world for another game, which is where I think it shines the best in that use.
Yes.
Because it's specifically purpose built to do that. I feel like it's purpose built to build an interesting world.
But I don't think that's written anywhere in the instructions. Is it? I don't remember seeing that, but it's like it's implied the very.
I think that it's
setting, the way the mechanic.
Yeah, it's not written into the game, but I feel like it's implicit. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
I feel like it's implicit in the game that's what the second step of it is. You know what I mean? I feel like when they put it together, like this is what, would be a great thing to supplement another game.
And the company that puts this out also puts out RPGs. So it's not just like a board game company that put this out. That they're role, they're RPG gamers.
Right. So the other thing it does is I feel like it engages all the players into putting something in the world that they want to see or don't want to see, which you don't always have. And I think it's nice on the player side of things that you get to have some say in if you use it as a mechanic to build a world you're going to play in. It gives you a chance to say that this is what I want to see in the world that maybe the GM wouldn't normally put in there.
It isn't just a chance either. I mean, if you have players that usually set back, they at some point are going to have to take a turn, and they're going to be forced to make some sort of decision about what's going on in this world. Right.
Well, Lee actually doesn't have a problem with this game. He's quiet, but he's decisive when he makes decisions. He doesn't suffer from analysis paralysis.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah. It'd be great to hear his input.
Yeah,
or those quiet. At least a quiet player normally. And it would be wonderful to get, because then you don't tell me, you show me what you want to see.
So I think as far as who this appeals to, I think it appeals mostly to
awesome people,
world builders. I think would be the first and foremost thing that comes to mind. Mostly GMs. I think this is a kind of a GM tool in a lot of ways. I mean, it is like you said, Lacey, it is a standalone game, but I feel like it is a GM tool in a lot of ways. Is the way that I immediately see it, and maybe that's just because I put it through the filter of a long time of gaming.
I think this could also be used well to bring in players that maybe haven't done RPGs before. So if you know somebody that enjoys this type of game and maybe you want to bring them in, lure them into the dark side of the RPG world, you can be, hey, you remember that setting we made with The Quiet Year? You really like that game. I'm setting up an RPG within that world.
The other thing is I hear pretty consistently that there are people that I like to make characters more than I like to play. And this is a game that I think like goes right into that, because now you're making a world as opposed to just one character.
But it's
you're
directed.
You're making
Yeah.
an entire a map, a world, places on that. You're also making individual people within that,
Drama,
creating the
conflict, yeah.
conflict, all of that.
I agree. So as far as who it doesn't appeal to, I guess, maybe, I don't even know how to word it.
If you're looking for a game that has a spectacular climax, if you're looking for a boss level fight, any of those things, you're not going to get those here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is not a.
If you want high action and low strategy, this is not the game you're looking for.
This is not BattleTech.
No.
Okay. It's not a tabletop mini game. It's not even a traditional RPG.
It's not crunchy.
It's not crunchy. Exactly. So this is.
It's very much a storytelling game. And it's world building with storytelling laid over the top of it.
I mean, strictly speaking, the dice don't perform a lot of mechanics in this game.
They're really there as counters.
Yeah, I mean, there's no
they're
rolling versus
countdowns,
this table.
basically.
There's no rolling versus monsters.
Mm-hmm.
It's you all agree. It's like, I don't know what it would be, success through consensus.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to who the game appeals to, and I guess part of kind of who it doesn't appeal to, it is a game that is a little bit inherently dark. You're after a war.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming up on the, a sort of end time situation. A lot of the things that the cards add are negative social aspects that you have to try and work around, or other physical scarcities that
Right.
happen. So there's a certain bleakness to
Right.
this game.
It's a spiral down
It
over
is not-
the course of a year.
It is not
I would
cheerful.
say, it's not cheerful, but I would say it's not exceptionally, like, really dark.
It would be
It's
dark, bleak.
Bleak, I think, is the right word. Yeah, I think you're right there. So, all right, right on. Anything? I like this game a lot. We've used it several times here to set up games that we played, we're going to play. I've had a great time with it. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, no, I give it a double thumbs up, and I will tell you what, just playing through it the first couple times you do it, it's a novel enough experience that you will enjoy simply the experience of doing it.
It is a great game by itself. It's fun.
I think it's a good game, and I think it fills a good niche. There aren't a whole lot of other games like this around.
Right. All right, right on. So another game with the Just One More Fix seal approval. So
Bing.
again, this can be found at burnedwithoutceremony.com. I will link that in the show notes. And yeah, get out there and check it out. The Quiet
You
Year.
said that wrong every single time.
It's
It is
buried.
buried without
Buried.
ceremony.
Damn it. All right. Well, it will be linked correctly in the show notes, but it's buried without ceremony. I'm sorry about that. We'll get that corrected in the show notes. They're not written yet, so it'll be an easy correction. But,
Right on.
so yeah, go out there, check it out. The Quiet Year. Good times. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetent.com. You can find us at justonemorefix.com and follow us on Twitter at Just One More Fix.